Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to the Cosmic Emporium. And I am joined by Phil B, and we know Phil B from the forum, so this is a TOTCAST. And welcome, Phil. Let me get you on the camera here. There you are.
Hey,
You're
nice to see you.
you're
I
live. They
go
see
by
you.
Donk on the forums.
That's right.
And
You're
this is
Dunk.
Kali, the Destroyer of Worlds, my companion here.
Ah, unlike cats, which are the destroyer of bed sheets and other things.
How you been, brother man?
I've been good. Doing a lot of things. As you know, I mean, about 2 years ago, I was very public with the global mission of peace, and I decided that was better for me to do that with those people instead of making it a spectacle. Because when you're doing something, suddenly you have lots of people from the outside critiquing and offering, like people who are not in the process, involving themselves in the process that they only know from the outside. So I realized rather than, if you don't want people to discuss something, take it out of their view. If you put it in their view and say, we're not going to talk about that, that's kind of dicky. So I decided not to be a dick about it.
Right on. So now we're being dicky about this whole, or at least I am being dicky about this whole Corey Good situation. And I was curious. Uh, I was watching the one that you did with Vern, and you started talking about the value you got, and I couldn't tell if you were saying from what Bill was doing. Did you start to describe how you got value out of what Bill was doing with the thread that he started?
Yes, well, you know what it is? When somebody, what I'm trying to do is actually also do something by example. So I'm not the biggest fan of Bill the human being because again, but his accomplishments, like what Project Avalon is. One of the things I said with Vern is that in many ways, because I've been there for years, and people bring all kinds of PDFs, books, blah blah blah, and they're all hidden there on threads. So in many ways, Project Avalon is like almost like a library of Alexandria, of
Yeah.
of all kinds of information. And then your place like the One Truth or some of the other forums are kind of like branches of that library. But the big stash, the big cache of information is on the servers of Project Avalon.
Well, and it was great too for building relationships. I got to be friends with you. I got to be friends with a lot of people, and especially like Fred. He's the first one that got me to. I kind of took a hiatus from watching videos, and then you talked with Fred, and I had to come and see my friends talk. That was great. And then you had Target and there's other guys, and I mean, I like what you're doing. I appreciate that. And yeah, I am very critical of Bill uh, in my writing whenever I get a chance. Um, but yeah, that doesn't take away the value that he brings. But see, that's the thing. When I was there, um, right up until I wasn't there anymore, um, I was trying to hold him to the standards that he basically holds to the forum. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
walk your
so
talk. You mean?
yeah, and so the thing that I see happening with this whole Corey thing that is concerning to me is like a sort of revisionist history where he's not taking any kind of responsibility for the fact that, Corey didn't come out of a vacuum. You know what I mean? Like we
Yes,
saw
Phil.
him.
You know something, Phil? And I was trying to do this with Vern. What I'm trying to do is actually not make this about personalities anymore, because our community is too important as a whole for us for us to like right now. That to me, what Bill is doing is bringing presencing to the alternative community how much we're distracted, that we have real issues, especially in America, where we have a constitution that we could do quite a bit with if we got together and organized. And there is just so much distraction. And so I am applauding the cleaning up of the alternative community, or at least let's establish who's who and what our various values are, because some of us are useful and can get something done, and other of us are really chasing dimensions. I mean, you read in Project Avalon, "Get me off this planet," as if they fell out of an Earth vagina by accident. That is ridiculous to me as a concept.
Right, but me and you who have been there for a little clip, or we were back there in the beginning of the Corey Good thing, can share with us or share with other people the experience that um, maybe he's not doing that exactly for that type of reason,
I
because
don't
that's what
care.
I was trying to. Well, that's what I was trying to get him to do. Well, I guess that's what my concern is, because he brought this product, or this presentation, whatever you want to call it. He brought the project to us, which was a wonderful thing, and he's basically a pillar in the forum community, at least as far as we're concerned, where we came from. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that it's the biggest fish out there, but he came from one of the biggest fish out there. It's interesting that ATS is coming up, where he started off with his Serpo thing, and this isn't to get into his personality. I'm not trying to get into all of that, but he's becoming this authority now on cleaning up the alternative community, when I feel that he was responsible for a lot of the muck to begin with. You
To
know what I
me,
mean?
he
I'm not trying to like just crap on him as a person and bring up personal issues that I do have with him, and I'm not going to deny that I have it, either of those things. But um, I'm just saying, like, he's using Corey as a case study, and he's omitting the fact that Corey was good ET by SG uh, for years, posting, and then all of a
look,
sudden,
I'm totally aware of that game. But again, that's the past. I'm trying to go forward. That
but
is
what
our.
do you? But what I worry about is that you think he's trying to clean up the
He's
community. But what if he's doing the exact same thing he's accusing him of? I see projecting.
That's why I'm trying to take it into our hands. He's starting a conversation that we can finish, and he stays as relevant as is possible. I mean, he might become irrelevant. I'm just talking about he's raised something that I think is important, and we jump on it and we own it instead of him owning it.
Well, that's what I did with my thread on the One Truth, because I didn't want to, I suspected that it was an attention getter for his own ego, the same exact thing that, David Wilcock, who's somehow, I mean,
But
he's getting pushed out of the story
to
too.
me, that's a distraction, Phil. Only reason is because we're focusing on what they're doing and what their motives. I
But
don't know what their
you
motives
can't.
are. I know what my motives are. I'm thinking I know what your motives are, and I'm trying for us to motivate.
But okay, I got you. But think of it this way, like, it's gotten all this attention. It's bringing, more than just me and you sitting here on the little forum, but these researcher guys that are all buddies with each other are starting to rally around Bill, and giving him almost like a Dolan-esque type credibility and all this kind of thing, and he's bringing it uh, in not a completely honest way. And I mean, and my thing has always been like the transparency, and the whole thing is about origins. And it was funny because when, the tangent that I was, that you went off on, when I was hoping that you would explain further about the value, was that was the same thing that I would run into at the One Truth, where everybody just wanted me to move on, move on. But I just worry that moving on before the lessons that could be learned are all hashed out and an accurate origin story is put in place, you know, we
Okay,
can't move
let me
forward
ask you.
on a.
Let me ask you what are the lessons that you think we need to learn? I mean, I have learned my lessons. What do you think other people need to learn?
What any other? Well, the thing of it is you have people coming in, you know, applauding Bill for doing this thing, like because basically they're concerned, like Corey, the whole picture is like Corey garnered all this attention and people think he's getting all this wealth and he has. I saw like Kara St. Louis, I think, suggested that he's getting like 5 or 6 figure backing on his marketing for the whole for his whole. I mean, I don't know how deep Gaia's pockets are or how rich
Deep
David
enough.
Wilcock is, but that's what people are rallying around Bill because he's, you know, pointing out that, you know, this guy has all this, so, you know, we have to pay attention to him for that. But it's like, I feel the deeper lesson is, well, how did, you know, where did he come from in the first place? You know what I mean? And Christine asked that a lot. You know,
Yeah.
why Corey? And where did he come from? And the narrative is almost being turned into that, like David Wilcock like plucked this guy out of nowhere. And David Wilcock was buddies with Bill back in the Camelot days. They were doing interviews with Pete Peterson, another personality that came out of it. And I know you don't want to talk about personality, and I know you don't want to talk about the past, but I just feel like if you don't get an accurate chain of events and history and uh, intention of these people in the first place. You know what I mean? It's just going to keep spinning in the same loop that it's supposedly getting us out of.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I'll have to respectfully disagree with you. I mean, for me, the biggest problem is exactly this, that everybody wants to clean up the past before they move forward. And again, for me, this isn't about Bill Ryan. This is about the alternative community. He happens to be bringing it up. And if we start a conversation, Bill Ryan's going to have to keep up with that conversation or he becomes irrelevant. He may have started it, but his relevance only will be on what he injects into the conversation and uses his presence for the better or whatever. I mean, if it's just, again, you don't know what other people's motives are. I can guess at them, but to me, discussing the motives of what's going on in somebody's head in public is very. I consider that poor behavior on my part. Because I know what I want to do with this, and I don't want to talk about Bill so much. I don't even want to talk about Corey. Corey is a symptom of an illness. And the illness is we need to be saved. There's this whole savior illness out there in the New Age community. Corey is nothing more than a symptom of this illness.
You can't see how Bill could be seen as the savior of the alternative, trying to be the savior of the alternative community. And, you know, his intentions are more on getting himself more attention. And
again, guessing what he's doing is none of our business. Our business is us. What we're doing. Fuck what he's doing. At this time, I see something that he's creating a movement that I want to get involved in. And I want to get involved in a personal. It has nothing to do with Bill. But this is, again, you know, instead of his old bad history, this is a moment that, again, with the building of the Library of Alexandria on PA. I mean, there were positive things, and to me, the personalities will be revealed. What if Bill woke up a week ago and said, "You know what? I want to take a new direction," and we'll find out by the language he uses as we go forward in this process if we can get it going with us knowing that we want to go somewhere, and that Bill kind of gets forgotten unless he inserts himself in the conversation and is a force for positivity. He has, to me, he's either relevant because he is relevant, or he's irrelevant because we take it and run with it.
Yeah, well, I think it's more like, I think the Alexandria Library is a pretty great analogy because it's only the elite and only the ideas that, is approved by authority are the ones that are going to get are going to be available to most people. And this whole situation, to me, isn't about him trying to. It's more about. I'd like to believe that his intentions were to make more people aware of the truth, but I feel like it's more of he's trying to control, he's taking advantage, he's using an opportunity to give himself the authority to be able to control his truth. Because yeah, it's a Library of Alexandria, but I'll bet the Library of Alexandria had back rooms where nobody but the people who ran the fucking library got to see certain things. You know what I'm saying? And the way information was presented, and what was available to the masses, you know, uh, like, I thought that what he was doing was better than a Library of Alexandria. It was more like where science and spirituality meet, where people can have conversations and build relationships, and be exposed to information. And I mean, I have no problem with that, and I definitely, applaud what he had put together, and what I spent all my time there doing. Because the other thing, because it's not just a Library of Alexandria. You know what Project Avalon really was an opportunity for some schlub like me to be able to directly talk to somebody who has had these anomalous experiences that Bill made semi-famous. Take the personality out of that thing. It's like, I get to have contact with a person who direct interactions with people that I never would have the opportunity to do. So more than just like having a deposit, because in theory we could build a better Library of Alexandria type situation, if it was all just about depositing information. The value that comes from what he had created was the ability to talk to, what's her name, Agape, to directly talk to Simon, to directly be able to talk to Corey and question him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the way that it was handled then is different than the way, and that's why I'm bringing up my point, and my concern is that, well, it wasn't like he brought Corey out to be a part, to be data in this free library that everybody had equal access to. He made everybody pretend like we didn't know who he was, and we couldn't say his name, as if he didn't sign his name on 100 million posts. And, it was like insulting to my intelligence when that was going on. And, as if, deleting his name from posts at that point, did anything to protect him and his family. And it wasn't even him that, that I took personally. It was the forum, the people that looked up to him as an authority, that thought that was okay. And it's like, what are we doing here? And that's why I think it's important. Because what's the other thing? Well, I mean, what's the value of bringing out, so all of his information that he's disclosing now, all of this data to set the record straight and clarify everything, if it makes it look like, he was this victim of Corey, building his fame, and then he went over to the One Truth, and then used them, and then got what he had started, what he started the whole thing for, and he got David Wilcock to pluck him out of obscurity and bring him into money and fame and whatever he has, which because what else is this all about? It's because all these researchers now are applauding him for exposing him in a way that makes it harder for the mindless uh, Corey lovers to isn't that what the real value of what Bill's doing now is? It started with some Corey lover going to Avalon. This is the way he explained it in his thread. Like some psychophant or worshiper or whatever, was arguing with him, and he got tired of explaining it to individuals, so he started like laying it all out. And to me, which is great, but I feel that I don't believe that it's to expand the Library of Alexandria you're talking about. I don't believe that it's helpful to just accept that narrative. Are you following me at all? Am I making any sense?
Something, of course you make sense, but for me it's the utility of focus. And my focus is going forward. I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, I speak with people. I mean, I have meetings with people all day long, and I constantly hear people moving backwards, wanting to always clear up.
Even talking about Corey at all is moving backwards. You know what I'm saying?
No, but I'm talking about the history that goes there. The history to me is, if you weren't there, it doesn't matter. If you don't know the history, knowing the history will not enlighten you or empower you. It'll be more gossip to occupy your mind with.
So you just need to have any warning out there to say that Corey is full of shit. And I mean, to me, it seems like...
To me, I'm not even going to say Corey's full of shit. To me, it's like, what utility is Corey's information? And when we're trying to build a new paradigm and break free of what's been going on for thousands of years, what the fuck is Corey saying that is really applicable to you, other than in the early days where it said you have to do this yourself, there'll be no saviors? But that wasn't good for monetization. So the story kind of changed, and now we have a space opera, or a Stay Tuned, Days of Our Lives, the secret space program edition. I mean, that's what this.
Bill's bringing value by debunking it. So I mean, that's what the end game is, right? I mean, ultimately, Corey, that's what's happening right now.
Oh, again,
Bill is debunking Corey's story to the point that you can't argue it anymore, or you know what I mean, or it'd be silly to argue it. But the fact is, it was silly to argue it in the first place, right?
Yeah, to me, Corey Good and David Wilcock represent the distraction part of the alternative movement that to me is supposed to be changing how things get done on this planet. Corey Good and David Wilcock are for people who are information gatherers, and no matter how much information they gather, they do shit. All right? These are the endless, I need more information before I can move people. Good. Go there. Because once we know who that crowd is, we know we can just bless them, enjoy yourself, but we're looking, this is like vetting. I'm looking for the people who are going to do something instead of just navel gazing and chasing the aliens.
And right, and I agree with that completely. And I mean, and I think that their method, their entertainment style method, is, I guess, concerning enough to the rest of the research industry that they're giving Bill all these props for laying out. So, and that's what you're doing too.
I'm not, something. Look, I'm trying to make it easier. This conversation would really work well if my videos are banned on Project Avalon. So, I mean, if I think this is an important enough discussion that I would like to get on Project Avalon, it certainly makes sense for me to say, Bill, you're doing the right thing here. I mean, come on. I'm trying to get a word out. Pissing off the head of the biggest forum on one of the biggest forums on the internet is dumb on my part if my intention is to get something done here. So I don't. So for me, and I don't need Bill. This is about the community. It's not about Bill. Bill raised it. To me, it's like a talking circle. Somebody introduces a conversation. The conversation grows. It isn't about the person who introduced it. It's in the commons now. So this is not
Right,
about
but the
Bill.
problem is that the well, I mean, but the things can highlight it is that David Wilcock is making it about him, and Corey Good didn't. You know what I mean? And that's what
That's
the problem
yeah, and
is.
I got so again. I'm trying to isolate them. I'm trying to take them and their crowd and put them over in the corner, in the safe
And
space room or the little kiddies room, because that's
so
how I
my,
think of them in that crowd.
or I got you. So right, and I agree with you. But the thing of it is to me that like they're almost like the lessons in discernment that you have to go through, and if you buy that stuff in the first place, you need to go through this
This is where we
mess
come back to
to.
know thyself. The only
But
discernment you need to know, no, the discernment is we need to know ourselves. Once you know yourself, when somebody, the bullshit kind of bounces, it's like, oh man, that doesn't work. I mean, if you
right,
know
and so
yourself, you don't need to discern others because their discernment is natural.
and me knowing myself, and I have a general distrust of authority, and my problem isn't those lower level crazies that you know are it's almost like listen at your own risk, and if you're going to buy that stuff, I mean you almost deserve to go through whatever trauma you have to go through to learn that they're full of shit. Rather, and my concern isn't for those people; it's for the authority that's gonna sit there and pretend like they're, you know what I mean, who's warning the rest of us, and teaching us, and we're looking up to and respecting, almost on like a Dolan-esque. I've noticed like Dolan has become like the authority that I don't hear Farrell as much anymore, but the same type of thing. And Catherine Austin Fitz was another one, but she went a direction that people were, the thing that I find interesting in the whole case study is the people making the case studies out of it. I'm making a case study out of it from my personal experience walking with these people and going back to it again, right? It's I think it's important to really vet out the people who are put in positions of authority,
All right, one
such as
question.
Bill
Question for
Ryan.
you, Phil. When it comes to like the fact that the alternative community has become kind of cluttered, and that news of real value can get cluttered. So for me, that's what I'm focusing on. Again, this is so not about personalities for me. Personalities need to get mentioned because they kind of initiated it. But to me, then it becomes part of a bigger discussion unless we focus on the personalities. We can't get past the personalities if we continue to focus on them.
I get it, but I go beyond that, and because I look more at authority. You see what I'm saying
Okay,
there?
let me. Something that's a beautiful word, authority. Because let's look at what authority is and how it derives. Authority comes from being the author or originator of something that others kind of come into. So if you're an author of a book, you're an authority on what you wrote in the book. If you're an author of laws, you become the authority of the legal system. This is authority and authorship are
I don't think that's accurate. The
oh
authority
then you're missing the word.
in the real context of real life are the people that are looked up to and respected for whatever reason. Like my problem is the authority of like the abuse cycle where you're just supposed to respect people because they're your grown up or they're your parent or this or that. And a real authority is someone who gets that respect because they have a better understanding of what it is. They didn't have to actually create it. Like fuck, like Richard Dolan didn't make up ufology. He has authority because he understands it on a level that more people will respect. You know what I mean? And like a judge didn't create all the fucking laws that they got, but they become the authority, and they're a shitty judge if they're, if they're not, consistent or whatever with what they say. But a true understanding of whatever it is they're an authority for. It's not a creatorship. It's
Well, no, the
and
judge is kind of past the authority by by the system that created the laws. He's one of theirs, so he's kind of like given some authority.
and I'm not saying a judge is an authority. I'm saying a good judge is an authority, a good lawyer. Like the one there's like a true authority because they've been put into a position and everybody tells them that they need to be respected. Like in the case of a lot of our political situation and a lot of false authority, or there's authority where they gained it because they are the best at what they do. That doesn't mean they didn't author the whatever it is that they're doing. They're just the best at what they're doing, or we're told that they're the best at what they're doing. And that's where my concern is that false authority. You know what I mean? That we've all been programmed to kind of buy into.
Well, that programming is for us to, I mean, to bust. I mean, we the only people who can bust us out of our programming is ourselves, and that's a job that you would just have to undertake, or you don't get the work doesn't get done. And when we look at, like, let's take an authority. If we want to, let's say like Bill Ryan has some authority, but he was given to it by him. So Bill Ryan's authority problem isn't so much about him as the people who give him that power. You can if you have nobody around you, I mean, try being an authority in your own room. Yeah, well, you can be. It means you can have everything where you want it, and it'll be clean or dirty, But again, he is given the authority, and this is why I'm getting.
But
This
me
is
and you
wait,
are
Phil,
an
don't interrupt me, please,
authority about.
please don't interrupt me. What I'm trying to get here is that this is what the focus of this bigger story is about the people who turn people into authorities because they're looking for an authority figure. This is that childish nature of looking for an authority figure. We're supposed to outgrow it by the time we become independent, and a lot of us don't.